Hello, everyone. I'm Ronan Unchained, and welcome back to The Syndicate, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, and a lot went down these past weekends. A lot. I have with me another friend of mine who we've been doing the road to Star Wars Celebration with, and Brent of Age of Grogu. Brent, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? As sadly, I never got the chance to go this year. Obviously, you went. You had a great time, buddy.
Yeah.
Looks
To
like
me,
it.
yeah, there's a lot to discuss. Like, oh my gosh. Like again, anyways, forget the jet lag stuff. Just like um But yeah, folks, we're going to be discussing Star Wars Celebration Japan
Mhm.
2025, our thoughts, what we thought about it, and then we'll be discussing Andor Season 2, the first three episodes, because
So good.
whew, I have been biting my tongue to talk about that show with so many folks. But one of the cool things that was that since I was fortunate to go to Celebration is that if you're really, really lucky, you meet new friends. You meet new people who are just as passionate about it as this stuff as you are, and I found that in a new dear friend of mine. So, to everyone, please welcome Sophia to the Syndicate Star Wars podcast. Hey, Sophia.
Hi guys, how are we?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good,
How you
thanks. How are
doing?
you?
Good, good.
Brent, I was fortunate to see the first episode of Andor season 2 with Sophia on the big screen, and yeah, the whole time I just kept looking at the audience and her and being like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh man, I was know she's gonna think about this and whatnot." And but yeah, and it was awesome. Sophia, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling a bit of the blues post celebration.
It
Yeah.
happens. Was it your first?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, had the same thing in 2022 when they had it here in Los Angeles, or should I say
Mm,
California. Um, I came out of it and it was like this weird depression mode for like a week or two. It's just you don't know what to do. You're very lost.
yeah. Like no one knows I went to celebration. Like
But
to
no
go
one
back to normal
understands
life.
it either. It's such a
Literally.
fantastic feeling, and there is
Mm,
almost this massive loss because the people don't understand it until they've actually been there, do they?
Yeah. It's a vibe that there is, you go to the bar after each work day with friends and whatnot, you go to this one up, but there's something about for 3 days, sometimes 4 days,
Mhm.
where you're just locked in, and it's you're eating, sleeping, breathing Star Wars, and you let any and all energy you've had build up for a year or
Uh-huh.
two, or whenever you started your journey with this franchise.
Yeah.
But it was 3 days this year. It went back to Japan for the first time since '08, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
I think
Right.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had never been to Japan. I found it to be such a defining moment in my life thus far, because I was like, I had never been this peaceful, this relaxed, this like happy to walk out, at 3 in the morning on the streets. I have
That's
never
great.
been that comfortable in my life,
Wow,
even though
that's great.
I had to fly 12 hours away from my hometown
Yeah.
to like get that vibe. So, Sophia, how did you feel about going to Japan before celebration started?
Pretty similarly. I mean, like it was really it was my first trip without like my family and that, so it was really exciting for me. And then also just like, all of the anticipation leading up to it, like seeing people walking around with Star Wars shirts and like pointing each other out and like
Yeah.
waving. Just like the
Yeah.
vibes are just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I yeah, it's let's just say I'm working on two videos right now for everybody. I'm doing the celebration vlog, and then I'm doing the Japan vlog, because I was thinking, like, should I put together? Like, no, they
Mhm.
should be their own two things,
Yeah.
because it's two unique experiences in
Mm.
my little mini vacation I went there. But um, we went to said event, and I think thus far this might have been my favorite celebration thus far. There's something cool
Wow.
about your first time you're
Yeah.
going, like I did with Anaheim, much like Brent.
Mhm.
And London was the first one I went on my own traveling internationally. So I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, except the English and I can speak English, so that's a cool. That's good.
That'll
That's
help.
it. Yeah, and there was something about this one where like I heard that there was like 70-something% people new to Celebration. It was their first time going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw for me that there was a lot of help in the process of going to said location. Granted, there were lines, but that's inevitable. That's
Mm.
cons. Part of it is you're in line most of the time. You want to get to stuff, whether it's merch, panels, or signings, if you will. But I was just shocked that like it was kind of an easy place to go, and even when it was crowded, there was like, all right, you're in movement, you're moving, you're not just standing in one place for an hour or so, you're moving. At least from my experience, I can't speak for everybody else because again, me and Sophia had heard like a lot of the stories for the merch stuff, which was chaotic one up. But
Yeah, it always is though. It's even
Mm.
in 22, it was like, whoa.
yeah.
But there's a lot of cool stuff there though too.
For sure.
Then speaking of cool stuff, the first day it was the Mandalorian and Grogu panel.
Mm.
Now, for those who were lucky enough, we got to see a little bit of footage of what they had shot thus far beyond
Right.
the D23 stuff they had showcased a little bit earlier.
Yep.
And that same panel, they had confirmed, okay, Sean Levy is doing a movie and Ryan Gosling is starring in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that element. We had Man and Grogu stuff. That later that day, we had the Lucasfilm animation, where if you were lucky, you got to see one of the first. I don't know if it's the first, but one of the episodes for Tales of the Underworld, starring Asajj Ventress.
Did you see that
then-
or not? No, you didn't. You did? Oh man. Okay.
Crazy.
I'll do my
9
best to
days
not
from now.
too much.
9 days
Yeah, I
from
know.
now.
I know.
Yes.
And it was a cool thing to see Dave and Athena Portillo and David W. Collins talking about what animation's been doing for Lucasfilm, the impact it's
Nice.
had. To me, it's been the gold standard for a long time, up until Mando and Andor, in my opinion. And then they dropped the mic, where it was just like, "Oh, we're doing a mall show, and here's a little trailer," and I was like,
Yeah.
So that's my spiel. Brent, Sophia, y'all talk. What was the biggest thing that y'all got out of Celebration? Sophia, you were there, and Brent, you had heard from everybody streaming and watching the news.
Well, I was going to say, Sophia, go first. I would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
Sure. Is this like just the first day or like the whole thing?
For right now, the first day. Like just talk
First
the
day?
stuff out of Starfighter, Mando and Grogu, and the animation stuff.
Oh, well, I was in the Twin Suns stage for Mando and Grogu, and that was just really exciting. I mean, I'm not the biggest Mandalorian fan there is, but I still really enjoy it. And like just being in that room with everyone and everyone's super excited, and they gave us those like wristbands that they give you at concerts that just like light up in sync, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
And then they brought out Ryan Gosling, and I was sitting next to these Japanese girls, and we obviously could not speak the same language, but we were just looking at each other and just like screaming together. It was so fun. So like that was definitely one of the highlights, just like being able to, connect with people despite language barriers. That was so cool.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with that notion. Brent?
Well, I mean, I was able to, that's the cool thing. The one thing I have to say they did better this year and this time around was that they actually got their live streaming up a lot better. So we only had about a delay of about 15 minutes of seeing what was seen. And they did, for the most part, give us most of the stages, at least up until the point that they would start spoiling things and talking about stuff that they didn't want everybody else to hear or see. So we got some really cool, pieces of information, almost direct kind of thing. The rest of it came through you guys texting and messaging and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
For me, the mall arc was kind of like, I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of expecting a Asajj Ventress drop of a story arc over the mall drop. So that surprised me more than anything. And I have to say that by no means did I see any of the footage that leaked online of all the stuff you guys saw. But no, we never watched that. But in anticipation, what you guys saw is pretty phenomenal. I'm I'm always jealous when when you can't be there in person to see the awe of how cool what they've got coming to us, is being shown to you guys. So yeah, that's a big part of it. And also, was it day 1 or day 2 that Pedro was on the live stage?
That was day 1.
That was day 1. Okay, I have a story here. Before you jump in, Ronan,
Go for it.
I have a story. I'm sitting here. They are showing the live stage. Pedro Pascal and Dave Filoni are brought up on stage, and they start talking about the Mandalorian Grogu movie. And then out of the blue, I hear this very familiar voice yelling, "Latino power!" And I went, "No, that what?" Oh, it was. I literally had to message you. I had to message you to say, "Was that you?" And the reply was yes. And then you posted the little piece from your perspective when you yelled it. Because I saw it the other way around, because you got a very clear wording of what Pedro Pascal says and how he reacts to it, and then you see Dave Filoni just turn around and just look straight at you from your perspective, from your video camera. How long did it stop you to stop crying? The fact that Pedro Pascal directly responded to you and Dave Filoni was just staring you down. How long did it take to stop you from crying in that emotionally brilliant moment, Ronan?
Dude, I I wasn't even. It wasn't even just starting starting to get emotional. It was just like, I remember I was next to like a lady who was also freaking out about Dave and Pedro, and then I just looked at her and I'm like, did that just happen? Like, did that quote unquote work? Because again, you never know if people are being this interactive, engaging. You never know if they're gonna tell people shut up or whatever you have you. Yeah. And the fact that Pedro went with it. Yeah, was like it was like, because I remember yelling and I went, oh fuck, I shouldn't have yelled that. I'm like, I should have kept it to myself. But he repeated it, and the fact that, like you said, that the fact that Dave turned around, looked at me, and smiled, I was like, okay, I think I did a good thing. I think I got a moment out of that.
It got a moment, that's for sure, and they definitely noted. Did you actually go back and watch the StarWars.com stream from their perspective, because it was catching their mics directly, and your video, the mic was very soft, but you see it from the other perspective. It's from my perspective that I saw. So did you see that? Did you watch?
So speaking of seeing it, I'm gonna show you right now what it looked.
Yes, please.
Before we go,
Keep.
We have a few comments from Keyblade. Heard Star Wars. Yes, you did. You're super excited for Maul. You need the trailer, and you want to see it. Oh, I saw that you were on stream. I knew that was you. apparently, Brent,
we all knew your voice.
Apparently, a few people did message me. They're like, "Did you just yell at Pedro?" And I'm like, "I did." They're like, "We heard you." I'm like, "What?"
And it worked.
I'm like, what do you mean you heard me? I'm like,
the world heard it, man. The whole world heard it.
So this is what I do. I'm gonna do the share the screen, and then hopefully y'all tell me if you can hear or not. And if you can, then okay. So let me know if you can hear it, okay?
Yeah.
And Pedro making the jump from to the silver screen.
Yeah.
It's a little laggy.
Yeah.
It might be just taking a second to catch up.
Okay, let me see if you can hear right now, okay?
Green. So, how does it feel to be the Mandalorian in this new space and to bring this story back to theaters?
Latino power.
You don't see.
Thank you for answering the question for me.
How awesome was that?
Incredible.
So freaking cool, dude.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that besides, I said and I'll talk about it later. I was part of this cool thing, but besides meeting people like Sophia and getting to know people more now that I've been used to in the webcam, that might have been the highlight. Like for me, I'm like,
absolutely,
shit, it worked.
It was my highlight watching it because I knew it was your voice. That was the weirdest thing. The thing is that the funny thing is it wasn't until like a day or so later when you could actually, edit and put stuff up there that I saw from your perspective. And I never realized from that image that Dave Filoni had turned around and looked directly at you at that moment, because it was your perspective that shows Dave Filoni. And I only ever saw a close up of Pedro when it cut into him. So I didn't realize until then. It was like, Dave is looking right at you, buddy.
Yeah, that's why I was
so
like,
great.
and again, because he's the one in charge now, so I'm like, oh fuck, like was that cool or not? Like I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, but then again, like most of the cool I've seen from my perspective, either if the cast and crew, if they don't do or say something exciting, usually in the past from the live stage events, it's with the engagement of somebody saying something, I mean, from our perspective, and Sophia will talk about it later, but like when Diego shows up on the live stage, eventually he's going to start talking Spanish, and he's giving a shout out to all of the Spanish speaking audiences of Star Wars. And then usually almost every time he's that, there's been a big rile up in the stage, which means there's a lot of Latinos going to these celebrations. So just like, I was like, I was giddy to say the least for that moment about it.
Such a moment, dude. Such a great moment.
I'll see if I can pull up my perspective later on. But from what you had all seen and heard from Mandalorian and Grogu in animation, to me, Mando and Grogu was the one that really like Maul shocked me. Maul Shadow shocked me because I'm like,
none of us
heard that there was something Maul related happening.
Yeah, but didn't even occur to me.
Didn't even like, and again, it's been going out for like a year and a half already, and I'm like, what? But I have to say, and I'm not going to show the trailer that may or may not leaked. I'm just going to show you a screenshot of it, which, again, they've already teased similar footages. But there's a photo of Sigourney Weaver in a New Republic outfit. And I said it in the event. I'm like, folks, Sigourney freaking Weaver is in Star Wars now. That is punk rock metal as fuck, in my opinion. That is like, that is, as a kid, the ultimate like nerd team up would have been like Ripley and Leia team up as cop or whatever may have you, and like that would have been sufficed to be it. But I like what they tease with the footage. There may have been stuff that's been floating out in the ether that I'm like, I guess that was true. It feels like a big budgeted version of an episode of the show, and yet I'm hoping that what they've been trying to do comes to fruition, where it's like it has to be an original story that if you've never seen the show, you can enjoy it just as much as anybody who has seen the show. If you haven't seen the show, here's some nuggets here and there to like enjoy. Like, for example, we know that Zeb is going to be part of this movie, which again, for a lot of fans of Rebels and and Ahsoka, it's just like, stuff is building up. Starfighter, that was cool to see them both come out. Yeah, that acknowledgement. Again, it's still kind of like, I'm like, oh yeah, Ryan Gosling is going to do a Star Wars movie. What?
Well, that was it. I mean, it was only rumor up until that point too.
Yeah. So that was BS. I was convinced that was not real.
Yeah.
And without going into it, because I am going to cover the show. I'd like to say that the episode they showed us of Tales from the Underworld.
Yeah. It's good.
Nice. Book fans are gonna freak the fuck out.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Any hints as to which books related to specifically the story you saw? No, you don't want to say it. Okay, fair enough.
I don't even want to. Like you said, 9 days. 9 days or whatever.
All right, 9 days away. All right, fair enough.
In 9 days, you'll know what I mean.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that goes for the first day of celebration. Then the next day, we got the opening panel with Andor. Folks, I've said already that Andor right now has been like the lightning rod that really like shocked the franchise and gave it a new life. But also, and kudos to the cast and crew of not sharing away that like we also owe a huge debt to Mandalorian. So we'll get into the actual episodes themselves there, but we were lucky enough to see the first episode there. Sophia, had you seen any of these new Star Wars shows in the big screen beforehand or no?
Never the big screen.
Oh man,
Yeah.
So much fun when you get that chance.
Because me and Brent had the fortune of seeing one of the Mandalorian episodes on the big screen a while back, and I think Brent, you had seen some other show on the El Capitan.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew, the first 2 episodes, and
There we go.
The Acolyte, the
wow.
first 2 episodes. They played in the El Capitan Theater here in Hollywood, which
Wow.
I was lucky to get to the fan screenings on both. Yeah. They had a it wasn't a premiere. The premiere was the week prior to. They had a fan screening the following week, which was the night before the episodes dropped itself online. So online. Disney Plus, yeah. And so it's such an experience to see any of these TV shows extended to the big screen, because it's still cinematic, still as gorgeous and as cinematic as any live action feature film. And it was fantastic to see, I have to say. So yeah, you had the experience too, Sophia.
Yeah.
See,
oh my god.
Yeah.
Was losing my mind.
That's great.
Because we had to wait 2.5, 3 years for this new season, and so I'm sitting in there. I shouldn't have. I don't know. I wasn't even expecting to get into the panel, and so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "There's no way we're about to see the new season," because it's like it was something that we were expecting for so long, but didn't have for so long that I was like, I didn't think it would actually ever come, and then to get it early and to get to experience it with all the fans, and then
the fact it was the TIE Fighter episode too, where it was just that would have been amazing to have seen.
It was so good. It was really funny as well. Like I think that they did a really good job with just like adding a bit more levity to it, because it's obviously quite a dark show, and it was so funny, like watching him crash around.
Oh yeah. No,
it was levity without making fun of it, in my opinion. Like it was just like circumstantial. Like, all right, he knows how to fly, but he probably never flying this version of the TIE before. So it would make sense that he'd be like, damn it, like get out, like, and just start to shoot everybody around. But yeah, what were you just gonna say, Brent?
I was going to say that was I love season 1 in the sense of every sense of production value and everything, performance, all that stuff was fantastic. My biggest flaw for it was it needed a little bit of breakup humor, whether it was tongue-in-cheek like we get from say a Han Solo comment or something like that, and we didn't get as much of that in season 1. And I do like that season 2 has that little bit of, you need to be taken out of the dankness of it to have a little bit of light comedy to break up it adds to the darkness to it, in my opinion, that you can be taken out by a little laugh or a little giggle at a moment and then be suddenly thrust into a dark thing. And I think that's what season 1 was missing. Not to downplay season 1 at all, because it was fantastic, but season 2 for me is even better. It's incredible. And that opening episode was fantastic. And it's so cool that you guys got to see it on the big screen.
That interaction with the Nia, whatever her name was, of you're finally coming to yourself. Let that protect you and whatnot. Like I was like, whew.
Yeah.
My man is starting a revolution. But yeah, I had a blast with that one. And I think Sophia, you might have stuck around, but like we tried to wait in the live stage for Diego. We tried waiting for him or for Tony Gilroy or Genevieve Riley to show up, but like again, the scheduling was like
the schedule.
Was
we did get that on the other side. Yeah, that you got to see what we got to see what you couldn't see. So so it was cool to see those moments of them talking and interacting. That is for sure.
And then another panel that I was, I had guaranteed reservation, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be fully able to get in, was the Ahsoka panel, because I remember seeing the queue up standby line, and that was already being wrapped around, and the reservation line was halfway through that. I was like, okay, let me just get my way there, and then got a pretty good seats. I hung out with Busy Braun, a fellow Star Wars fan, content creator, and the panel was fun. it was cool to hear the banter between the stuff here and there. There was a moment to like truly like pay respect to Ray Stevenson and welcome. I keep forgetting his name. I feel so bad, but he's the Hound from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
that he's gonna be playing Balin Skull, McCreary or something like that.
Yeah.
And we saw the first like official stills of him in the costume. He looks good.
Yeah,
and,
I saw that too.
I'm glad,
they showed us
yeah, I'm glad that they're not gonna stop doing that. And so I'm gonna tread lightly because Sophia, again, hasn't fully gone into it, and I don't want to spoil stuff for her. But let's just say that, they're hinting at stuff of what they hinted at in season 1, and let's just say that the real cool part of it was that like Dave said, "Listen, I haven't shot anything. Not even we haven't no cameras have gone up, but I gotta give you something. You made it all the way here." And he goes, "What can I do? What can I do?" And then he harkened back to something that I had always heard of, but didn't fully see. Maybe I had seen still, but I haven't fully seen it. He's like, "You know what? When I was a kid, a teaser for a movie called The Empire Strikes Back came out, but they had not shot anything. It was just concept art. So enjoy this little retro thing." And it was literally like a callback to that with new concept art for season 2. And on the next Ahsoka season, they battle the occult and whatever thing. So like we're getting Night Sisters stuff, and they tease that machines from a dark and dangerous time. And Brant, I could have sworn to you, I saw a design of this big creature kaiju looking thing that looks like right out of one of the sketches Dave had done for one of the Clone Wars arcs.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw the rumors for, and all that, because I never ever saw that piece leak online either. But at the same time, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah, man, it is. I was just like, where are we going with this? Like, the Mortis gods is just a whole other thing that we have to like wrap our heads around. But I'm like, and the fact that they're like, oh yeah, Hera, Ezra, Chopper, Huyang, and it was kind of funny because they're like, and introducing Garazep Aurelios are going to be locked in, and there's going to be 2 battles going on. There's what Ahsoka and Sabine doing, and then there's what the Rebels crew is going to be doing. And again, this was one where I'm like, Dave is letting a lot of stuff out of the bag, and he never does this. He said that like Admiral Akbar is going to be part of season 2. There's going to be a big battle, and that he and Thrawn are going to go head to head.
I saw
that. I was just like,
very exciting.
I was like, crazy.
I've got to ask Sophia, what's your connection within what you watch within Star Wars? Are you up to date with Rebels? Are you up to date with Ahsoka? What are you or are not up to date with?
So I've seen like all of the live action except for Ahsoka, because I haven't finished Clone Wars, and then as a result haven't seen Rebels, and haven't seen Bad Batch
Watch
either.
them both first. Please do not start Ahsoka until you've watched that and Rebels, one after the other, for sure.
Although Dave has said that he designed Ahsoka for those who had not seen that stuff to be able to enjoy it, but let me just tell you that like there are moments that if you've seen Clone Wars and Rebels, you're gonna freak out like we did.
Like I want to enjoy it to the fullest. It's just a matter of getting to season 2 of Clone Wars.
No, I get to that too. You've got a lot to get through, but I am getting to see it with fresh eyes too at the same time. You've got exactly 1 year, 2 days, whatever it comes out to catch up. Yeah, you got long enough to catch up, but because at the end of the day, for me personally, it's interesting. I was a kid that grew up. Luke Skywalker was my favorite character, but then in my adulthood, Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character of all time, because she has this incredible arc of a beginning, a middle, and we still haven't seen this ending yet. So I'm curious to see how Kenobi, we've seen the beginning, middle, and end of his story. But Ahsoka, we haven't seen the full story, but they've been going in such a great chronological order of her character that I'm curious to see how Ahsoka season 2 plays out with all this. So. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to add too much more about that because I'm
Yeah.
trying to hold back. Like, oh, I can't wait till you do this and this. But But I'm the same
Yeah.
with like the High Republic stuff right now. Like I'm so
Sure.
behind that stuff that I'm like, eventually I'll get
Mhm.
into it. There's enough books and comics that like that'll be a good time to just sink into the High
Yeah.
Republic. But yeah, that's was all that was for Ahsoka. The last day was Visions. We got a look into that,
Mhm.
and I was very fortunate to be part of the Dark Forces podcast panel that
Watched
Sunday
it.
where we wrapped and like talked about everything that had been dropping, whatnot.
Mhm.
Kudos to Kyle Katarn for inviting me to be part of that. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, I watched it
like-
just yesterday. Actually, it was great.
Yeah, and I was again. I told him I was like, I'm not gonna believe it until we're on the stage, and then we're on the stage. I'm like, oh shit, okay, we gotta talk. We gotta talk to the people, and people showed up. And from what I
How big was the
gathered,
crowd?
it was I think about halfway full, if my memory is right, where they were just like in three of the different areas and whatnot, and they were just closed in. And from what I had, again, for the energy, I was there because I was very like, are we good? Is the pacing right? Is the connection right? People were digging our comments when they asked us questions. There was like deep cut stuff. There was deep like philosophical stuff, and I was just like, okay, I think people are in it. I think people want to hear
Oh, yeah.
our thoughts about so and so stuff. And
Yeah,
that was a surreal experience where people came up to us. They wanted photos, and they're like, "Thanks for
great.
bringing this up." Yeah, man. So kudos to the Dork Forces podcast. Hopefully, in 2 years we can do that again and probably do even more stuff with more groups and individuals who do content creation.
yeah.
But yeah, that was the ending of Celebration. As I've said, the highlight was doing the podcast. It was meeting with a lot of people, like Sophia. That was one that, like, as soon as we met, the whole time we were like, "Did you see this? Did you see this?" We were trying to meet up, but then again, the blessing and curse of these events is that there's so much to do, and yet your timing is like, can you find a time to say goodbye with folks and whatnot? But we told each other like we gotta stay in touch, and I'm
That's
glad
cool.
that we did.
Me too.
The other thing, of course, that came from the ending there was the location for the next celebration, which
Which is
is
going to be
right
in,
here in
in
Los
my
Angeles.
hometown
You.
in Los Angeles.
Yep. I'm
literally
very
shouted-
excited. I don't have to go far.
I literally shouted cheap flights. I was like, cheap flights. I was like, I don't have to pay that much. I was like, and I felt bad for these two. There were these two Asian individuals that they're like LA. They're like, we gotta fly over there now, and I'm like, I flew here. So we have 2 years to start saving money and going for that. I'm daring to probably even try to get the Jedi badge this time, the Jedi VIP badge, because I've never done it beforehand. But
I think it had already sold out by the time I got my ticket. It was weird. It's like you know what it's like, Sophia. You're sitting online. You're trying to wait in line at the beginning, and just it's a very anxious time just getting those tickets and what sells out and what's going to be still available and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ron. I didn't.
No, it's okay. I was just checking that. Like, some people were saying that that Phil's going to probably go. Phil's a friend of mine, so yeah, I think that this one is for people who couldn't go to Japan and be like, I'm going to try to go to LA since it's the 50th anniversary of Star Wars itself.
Oh my gosh!
I have a theory.
That's crazy.
Do you think we'll get George Lucas of that time pop in and
Uncle George?
They'll definitely try. I reckon.
He was in LA not yesterday for Empire Strikes Back, and I'm like,
those tickets were way too expensive. Way too expensive for those tickets. But did you see that little piece he talked about with Yoda?
I know there's a piece, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I won't say it. It's cool when he's talking about Yoda, and I won't go into it because it's worth watching. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully, I've already talked to people who I hung out with that weekend. I'm like, we should do something big that year, and a lot of people were like, agreed. And so, we might start setting iron in the fire to make something cool happen for those 2 years.
Totally.
But something that is right now has iron in the fire, that is cooking, that is just like jam packed, is Andor season 2. I agree with Tony Gilroy. He felt for the podcasters who were talking about that because it's 3 episodes a week that we got to talk.
What did he say about that?
That like he remember him saying like, I feel bad for the podcasters, like they got so much to talk about. 3 episodes, that's a lot of stuff to like digest and like discuss amongst themselves. But if you want to hear my thoughts on the episodes and my reaction, they're up on the channel. I highly recommend you go check them out. Me and Busy Braun freaked the F out over this opening arc. But Sophia was nonstop raving about Andor. I want to hear her first thoughts. Folks, just a heads up. We may or may not discuss. Spoiler. So just heads up right now. We're probably going to discuss spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, go see it because it is phenomenal television, in my opinion. But there is an element of a very dark, bleak subject matter that we may or may not talk about. I think it's important that we do discuss it.
Yeah.
But if we don't want to, that's all.
Absolutely.
But just a heads up that when we get to it, we'll give you a warning that like we are going to be talking about a very dark, real subject matter that I give props for them tackling. But until then, Sophia, it's finally out. How did you feel about the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2?
I mean, I was just exhilarated. Like, oh god! Like I was because season 1 was so good. I was worried that there was no way anyone could make anything better. But I was like, I've just got to trust that they know what they're doing because they've clearly proved it to us. And then the first episode already was like hit it out of the park. So I'm so excited. I've got to watch what I say because I've got little Cassian here next to me. So he's watching my every move. But it was great. It was so funny. It was incredible how you can see how they really like thought out the separate arcs that they're doing between each 3 episodes. They're just like coming down and they're landing for a couple days and then they're skipping for another year. And it's just really, it's so impressive how they've written the whole thing. I'm speechless.
Brent?
Loved it. I loved all 3 parts of the episodes. I think it was probably the best Star Wars dinner scene we have ever seen in episode 3. Absolutely pissed myself laughing at how brilliant the performances were and how well the writing was and how much that woman needed to be put in her place from season 1. I forgot the actress's name who plays Cyril's mother, but she is phenomenal. She is phenomenal. And I like the story for... I think for me, the slightly weaker story was Andor's one with the group of rebels on the planet.
Yeah.
And I say that because I feel like I've seen that type of character before. We know about the factions in Star Wars Rebels, and I know it was a recap for the fans who already know there are small factions out there, but there's a lot of people who don't understand there is all these small factions out there that have no tie-in, and some of them work and some of them don't. And we kind of understood that. So for me, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is for the people who don't understand. It definitely needed to be there for this story. But that being said, it was still well played out. Rock, paper, scissors in the Star Wars universe kind of threw me for a minute there.
Yeah.
But there were moments where, where Tony Gilroy gets too earthbound, in my opinion. And I'm like, okay, sometimes it takes me out. Sometimes I'm accepting of it. And I'm, again, not ditching anything he does because I think his stuff is fantastic. I love the cast. I love the characters. And the stuff with Mon Mothma, also fantastic. Chandrilla, incredible.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. They shot that in a place outside of Barcelona, Spain, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it was Spain.
Yeah, which incredible landscape. And I mean, very much enjoyed it. I mean, without going into too many details, kind of thing.
Yeah, Keyblade says that I loved it. I couldn't believe how good it was. Yeah, to me, it was, like we said, the opening sequence of him trying to get out. It was Director Krennic coming
Oh
about,
yes, and
be
Krennic,
like,
of
He was
course, yeah.
good.
being
With
like,
That was
Dedra
such a
as well.
great scene. Oh, the fact that he
need-
sized down Dedra straight away was fantastic. I love that. It says a lot about Krennic too, that he can pick and understand who is on top of their shit. Basically, he knew. She was
that
on
whole
top of
scene
it.
of him, Cal Qaeda will bring,
Okay.
power or whatever, and I was like, oh.
I've got to ask, how did you take the idea and the concept of Cal Qaeda, which I was expecting to say Kyber at first, because I was thinking Kyber crystals, Death Star laser, because we know that pops up. And when he said Cal Qaeda, and it was for the something or other dish,
The reactor, yeah.
But none of them in the room knew about the Death Star. If Tarkin was not allowed to know about the Gorman incident, and he kind of said that Tarkin and other people,
Yularen.
how many of these people have? Yeah, Yularen. Yeah, if you are trying to keep that information from the rest of your, from your heads and superiors, do you think that was Krennic working under the radar, that these people already had a concept of the Death Star, or the fact that he was actually trying to find a substitute for Kyber crystals because they either can't find it, they've done enough damage to Elam, which is the the planet of where most of the Kyber crystals are found.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got Jeddah, which pops up later on in Rogue One. So, and we know that was the powerful source that they took a lot of the Kyber crystals from. So, is this particular crystal they are finding a substitute, a poor man's substitute to try to test for the Death Star? I wonder, is my question. And B, to that question, does everybody else in that room know about the Death Star, to know that that is their true purpose of what they're looking for this and why they have to take Gorman by force? Or is it a game within a game with these people? And I feel like that's the key of it all.
That's what it felt like to me. It was a game within a game of him being like, I'm going to give you details, but I'm not going to tell you what it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'll give you false details. Why? Yeah. Something that you think you're looking for is for this reason, but it really is for this purpose here. And that's what it felt like for me.
Yeah, it felt like I'm gonna give you a puzzle, but you don't know what the puzzle is gonna line up and make what image is a build up.
Which is the same thing we got is season 1 where they're building the parts for those Death Star in
it felt very like guinea pig in the lab, like even to the extent when he brought the Ministry of so pretentious, the Ministry of Clarity, and like the fact that it was like a marketing, it felt like a marketing bit at and it was just like again the layers of like what do you do with the truth and how you manipulate it in your favor and how you sell lies and sell perspective, and it's just like Tony was like. Tony was looking at like, all right, let's see what Fox News and CNN is doing this time. Okay, I can do this, I can do this. And
but that also goes throughout history too. It's not just in the current times, but it's just repeating history again. And I also read today that Tony Gilroy did, he's like George Lucas in that sense. Lucas is a huge history buff. He went into a lot of history, and to get any of these stories right, I think, in my opinion, in the Star Wars universe, you have to understand history. You have to understand how different cultures win or lose wars due to the style and tactics, and implement that in as a subconscious level of our being, of our nature, to say, this is not just a fantasy space movie. There is a purpose behind all of these strategies, and these strategies are how well they are written to us as the audience to either accept it or say that didn't work and we didn't like it, so to speak. So, that's anyway.
Even like I think I was looking at it because I was rewatching the episodes, how the background of where they're at. The fact that it was painted and there was some like effects added on, and how people were saying like, whoa, that feels a lot like how do I say it, but without let's just say Adolf had a lot of spots in his time in the Third Reich, and how people were saying, "Yo, that looks like the Alps of where one of his places were at," and like how the visual of the glass behind him and how that was like a window, and I was like, "That is genius." If that was a little inspiration, I was like, "That is effed up dark genius of them." Just and the fact that someone said it, they took a coffee break. They took a coffee break of how do we commit genocide, or how do we get these people out of their own the land? Why don't we just do a plague or just something? And I'm like, fuck.
I think also I was listening to some other podcasts. I can't quite remember who it was now. But some people were saying, I think it was Star Wars Sessions. They were saying that meeting reminded them a lot of, I think there was this real life meeting that the Nazis had on how, like, what exactly they were going to do to the Jewish people, which is just, crazy. And I think that
diabolical.
It's really interesting to me that, like, I mean, I love how relevant and political Andor is, but it's really interesting to me that Disney's putting it out. I feel like
there's some stuff.
It's very uncharacteristic of Disney.
It is, but they also understand their material enough, before it, why and how it came in. If you're not constantly challenging your audience to these questions, then you give the kids stuff out there for the kids, but then you need to still challenge your adult audiences to these questions. And by doing that, by allowing it to take its course of these creatives to, have that kind of say, then, you get some sort of message out there to people. Hopefully.
It reminds me a lot of growing up for kids. Back in my day, we had cable. If we had HBO, I remember it was a big thing of like, all right, there's some movies you can watch here that you like, and then there's these comedy specials or these TV shows that like you're not allowed to watch that. That's for mom and dad only. And so like the fact that I grew up with like Sopranos or The Wire over my head, me not being able to watch that at a young age, but the fact that that was there for the adult audience. And I agree, like there's such a range right now of Star Wars, good or bad, however you feel about it, but there is a range of like there's stuff for younger individuals, for people in their teenage years or young adults, and there's stuff that are like it's more aimed for adults. And I feel that keeps the franchise fresh. It gives new blood, new air, and dare I say, it gives them room to expand and grow out. Like again, for a lot of folks who are fans of Andor, who feel like this stuff should be brought up in Star Wars, is like we've been doing this for 50 years. In terms of television and movies, it's the first time that someone has like, you know what, let's take it really, 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 really serious. And much like Mando did, like let's draw inspiration from what inspired Star Wars. So if Mando's doing the cowboy, spaghetti westerns and samurai stuff, why don't we do, why don't we do Platoon? Why don't we do All the President's Men? Why don't we do JFK for this story in Star Wars? Why don't we just lean into that element and be like, it's still just as relevant, and why not? Like, it's, to me, I always find it hard to believe people say like, this goes against everything George is doing. It's like, no, George was doing the exact same thing, but was aiming it for kids to watch it in a more direct way within within Star Wars. He always said that Star Wars is his vessel. He can throw anything he wants to and talk about stuff and tackle stuff. It just so happens that now it's been 50 years. Here's something that, like, you know what? Eventually kids can watch this, but right now let's see if we can even keep the adults engaged with it outside of people saying, may the force be with you, or, a stormtrooper for the sake of a stormtrooper. It's like, no, this is like, I always said, this feels like an HBO show, and that's a good thing. I mean, the fact that you make me feel for Mon Mothma, who's always been a beam of light, and you're like, oh, by the way, in order for her to become a leader of the rebellion,
she's got to do something pretty dark,
or has to be involved in some sort of dark stuff, even though she doesn't want to. Like, there was a moment where, like, again, we're talking spoilers, folks, but like when Luthen tells her, you know the number, you know what Clay is, wants. We're always going to be in trouble, and he says, you need to be protected. He gives him this look of like, I don't know what you're trying to say. And he goes, how nice for you. He'd be like, it's nice that you don't have to think about
great
stuff.
line. Great line.
and her dancing, her anxiety, her anxiousness, her like her sadness, the fact that like her daughter's going forward with this like pressed upon wedding, and gave her daughter an out to be like, you don't have to do this, and the daughter going full Nepo will be like, I wish you were drunk. I'm like, let me be. I want to do this. It's just like, girl, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's just like madness. It's so awesome. I don't want to pull up images about it because again, it's a sensitive subject matter, but I think we do have to discuss it. So folks, just a heads up, spoilers again, and we're talking a deep, real dark matter. Bix, Adriel Arjona, she is still suffering from what Dr. Gore did last season, and she has the PTSD still, and the fact that while she's in this planet where it's she's a refugee along with Brasso and Will, and they're being kept under hidden and just trying to do their duty as farm workers. The fact that an Imperial comes in, much like in Glorious Bastards, and just starts hitting on her, and she gives a message: I am married, I have a husband. And you see how the entanglement of like Andor is upside down trying to get this damn tie back for Luthen and the rebellion, and she's still there. And we get to the third episode where there's an assault, and again I was watching. I was like, wow, they're really doing this. And again, I saw this across a lot of the channels. They're like, okay, they're hinting at it, they're doing it, but they're not gonna really like say this is what happened. Kudos to Bix. She fights back with the crowbar or whatever she had, and just boom, slams that Imperial guy twice.
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead, Sophia. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I really appreciated how even though she was able to defend herself, it wasn't about like, oh, look at what a hero she is. Like, look, she can save herself. Or it wasn't about Cassian's coming back in the nick of time to get this man away from her. Like, it wasn't about that at all. It was incredibly emotional. And I think a really big part of it was just watching it, knowing this is going to be sticking with her for the rest of her life. Added on to all of the trauma that she already got in season 1.
I think from this point on, I'm more invested in how Bix is going to be able to deal with this trauma over the next 3 story arcs too. Because it's obviously going to continue to be there, but I'm hoping we get to see her get stronger from it. I don't know which way they're going to go. I don't know if they're going to, make her succumb to this fear, or whether she's going to get stronger from this event. I would only hope that they will make her get stronger and show that she can become a survivor. But again, we don't know the story. We don't know where these, characters end up. Does she live longer than Andor? Does she, go before Andor's time? We don't know. This stuff, and I think that's one of the beauty about this show is that we know stuff. We know where certain characters end up, but we really truly don't know where characters like Bix will end up post Rogue One, and how they will be changed. Well, we see how she's been changed by it, but I want to see her become a survivor and become stronger from this. I feel like it's the way that she, I feel like that's the way she's been written here. Again, I don't know. We'll see. But it was a horrible, stressful moment. And I've seen interviews with actors where they have to do a scene like that on other TV shows, and how it emotionally can impact them as the actor, because they have to go to this dark place to get there. So kudos to, and I don't even know the actor's name who played the Imperial officer, but kudos to him in performing such a great portrayal of a horrific scene, and
leaning on the table and be like, I'm stressed, I'm tired. It's just like, Jesus, dude, hanging the hat on the closet, looking in the mirror. Again, the size of that, I'm like,
everybody's reactions I've seen are just like, ooh, creepy, just And again,
it's that what Sophia was saying, that like Like it wasn't like look how tough she is. She's like she's a fighter. That's from the get go. That's if you want to see Ferrick, look at that. She survived that torture scene, but you know, she for the Force, whatever you may have, the crowbar is that right there. Sometimes the crowbar wouldn't be there for Biggs or for anybody else. And again, the fact that like even after that, there was another Imperial waiting outside.
Yeah, and he didn't even respond. Surely he must have heard what was going on before, but he didn't respond at all until he started hearing his buddy start screaming.
Yeah,
and the fact that she told him he tried to, to do that, and like he said like he's dead now, and you have to come out, and like I remember like the minute I heard her say it, I was just like, whoa! I was like, you know what, like. Kudos, man! Like 50 years, and we have like new stuff to tackle. It's not just the same thing. Again, poetry, rhymes. I get that, but like you can only do that so much without not trying to bring new audiences and not keep the franchise either relevant or fresh or new. Like this is new ground. It has been hinted at in the past. You may have alluded to it, but like there was a show to like put in the forefront for an episode. Here it was, and like again, people have issues with it. Hopefully, there's a warning for folks who might get triggered by this or whatever may have you. But like, I was just like, for everything I've heard Adria talk about it, everything Tony's talked about it, I was just like, kudos, man. Like,
and they didn't try to hide it under like a Star Warsy word either, which I really appreciated. Like. I think it's good because, like, a lot of things in Andor, I think that, there's always the subset of people who will just completely miss the point. And I hope that by being incredibly literal with it, that it actually got through.
Yeah. And that's the other thing as well. I mean, this, again, sadly, this thing happens all the time. It's happening now. It happened 1,000 years ago. It happened, it happens with any powerful army that comes in. There's always those people within those ranks that feel like they've got a dominant power over anybody else around them and civilians and people around them, and it's something that it needs to be addressed all the time. It has to.
And
be
it's not a new concept. It's not a new concept.
It's not a new concept. Yeah, it has to.
It's like how many, again, because a lot of this stuff is drawing from World War II. Like how much of that generation like went through that, and like there's plenty of World War II movies where you see that illusion or the act
Vietnam, any of them, any of the
Platoon. Like there's literally a scene in Platoon of it, like out of it, and it's just like So and I just say to y'all who have issues with it or bothered by it, don't want it. I just say this: like this is the first time it's been fully addressed in the 50 years. It's Star Wars. It's been 50 years. I'm like, easy a little bit. Like you still have your Jedi stuff. You still have your blasters. You still have your cool ships. I'm like, just for a moment, let's think outside the box. Because for me, this doesn't break the franchise. That doesn't break it. Again, like a lot of people for years have said, it's creatively bankrupt. I don't know how bankrupt of this can you get. Like I don't see it like that way. And
just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean that somebody else is not going to absolutely love it. There's always room for Star Wars in different people's development of their life, both age-wise and mentally, and. So if there is something out there that you don't like, shrug it off. That's all I say. Shrug it off. That piece of story was not meant for you, obviously. But did you learn anything from it? You hope you do. You hope that these messages are told, that somebody, just somebody, might learn something from it, whether they liked it or not. And that's the thing that. And it's not just Star Wars. It's any franchise that's trying to tell us these things. Any story, any filmmaker, any artist. The artists are important in this world because they're the ones that want to tell these stories, and give us the fact that we are, we don't want to be doomed to repeat history again.
I remember learning about genocide and all this stuff when I was growing up as a kid. Like watching stuff like Hotel Rwanda or you know, a lot of these documentaries, like it made me be aware. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what conflict and war comes with. It's not just it's not just two sides just shooting each other. There's way more into it, and way more people go about trying to win or set their stamp in a war or in a society. So I gave, I was very shocked, like appalled, and yet like applauding the fact that they went down this road. And again, I've never seen the Empire as scary and as bleak as a show, and making me want to like jump on an X-wing jumpsuit and go do something about it. Like, kudos to the show, man. Kudos. Brasso MVP. Yeah. That was heartbreaking.
I can't believe we lost him so soon.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I love that people were like either confused or didn't know, or thinking two ways, that the guy sold them out, or like the way I see it,
definitely
that Brasso sold it. Like he sold it to the appearance that like you traitor. Like
he completely set it up to give the other guy the chance to survive. 100%. Yeah. That is, I got to say something about what Tony Gilroy has done, especially even more so with this season so far, is that he is not afraid to just leave it up to the imagination, and not necessarily you're an audience who is smart enough, and hopefully adult and smart enough, to take in the pieces of information he's giving you, but letting you fill in the rest. We didn't need to see Tal get killed at the end there. We didn't need to see that act. It wasn't meant for our eyes to be seen. It was meant to be for us to go, how's he gonna get taken out? Is it, obviously, what's her name? I forgot her name. Piloting the vehicle there. Cinta.
Oh yes.
Cinta. Those moments where we didn't see anything occur or take place. It's left up to the imagination and a future storyteller to put in a book somewhere, I'm sure, or something like that. We may get a line in the next episode a year later about how, his death existed and was there. He may not be killed. We don't know the story yet, but the reality is we assume he's going to be taken out. But there's all these moments, all these beats throughout these 3 episodes where Tony Gilroy does not need to fill in the gaps and hand feed you, hand pull you through any of these stories. And it becomes more fun as the audience member, I find, to kind of anticipate that guessing of, and it's something to talk about. It is something to sit there and go, did this person go this way? Did this person, what's going on? So I enjoyed that too. I enjoyed that aspect about this show.
Yeah, even seeing Belle's look on Cinta and be like, oh my gosh, she's okay. Okay, there she is. But also be like, oh fuck, what's she gonna do right now?
You're there. Like, exactly. Yes.
Yes. Seeing, B2 emo worried about everybody, and like how he had to be left behind. I'm curious to see whether that path gets connected again. I hope it does. I'm sure it does. I still have
best for him.
I still have my theory that that something will happen to B2 emo and to make what's his name?
K2.
K2 exists the way he is, that a piece of B2. I mean, a lot of people, I think even Kyle Katana said he doesn't see the resemblance, but dude, I completely see the resemblance on the way K2 acts in Rogue One and the way B2 has these little flinches and moments. If you put them side by side, they're almost identical. So I think B2 is created out of that. Anyway, I could be wrong. I don't know. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's the other thing too.
The parts again, like just symbolic.
Solo. Wait, did you see Solo, Sophia?
I have, but it's been a very long time.
Okay. All right. So basically, Lando's droid, she gets kind of taken out, and he takes part of her brain mechanism, and it becomes the Millennium Falcon. And that's where it seems like they could be doing that with B2. And again, that's just a theory. If they don't do it, they don't do it. But at the same time, who knows? We'll see.
Whatever they do is going to be great. So just here
I'm
for the
sure.
ride.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's it.
I can't say anything more because I don't want to stuff for you. Let's just say that like you better get ready for next week. Because the pedal does not go down.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the big thing. I mean, I have this little book here called Star Wars Timelines, I looked through it, and BBY 23 number 3 or 3 years before Battle of Yavin, there is no reference to anything that we know is coming, because we know the whole Gorman situation is a ongoing thread. We got it from season 1. We've got it into this season. For those of us who understand and know what the books are about, we know where it eventually leads. But I also believe that is also feels like it's closer to Rebels, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, Sophia, for you, but Rebels has a connective arc there that happens, I'm guessing, at the same time, and maybe even the reason it's connected to Mon Mothma at a certain point. But that feels like that's in the third arc of this story out of the 4 arcs. So as for next week, Year 3, BBY, I have no reference. I don't know if it's Galen Erso. I don't know if it's something else. I don't know. I'm excited to see.
No expectations.
No expectations, but very excited to see. But then we've also got K2SO gets created. We don't know when that's going to be, closer to Rogue One or earlier on. I always felt that their relationship was an ongoing thing for a few years. I hope
it's sooner rather than later, just so we get more of him.
It would be cool. I don't know. I mean, is it a new friendship in Rogue One, or is it an old friendship?
No, I think it's something, I think Diego said at the panel that, his only friend in Rogue One is a droid that he reprogrammed.
Right.
So, like, there's, I think he's definitely, obviously he's lost a lot, but also
he's also lost his own droid too at this point. That would make sense why he would reprogram. I mean, maybe it is next week that we get to see.
Hope so.
Yeah. All these questions, all these poor Ronan sitting there going, I kind of know, but
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Wait, have you seen more?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Like screeners, or
he knows stuff.
Okay.
Just saying, get ready. That's all I'm saying. Get ready.
Oh my God,
again, a testament to this show is that, like, much like the first season of Mandalorian, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, water cooler talks every week. It was like, what do you think? What did you think about this moment? And like how that conversation just goes up until the next 4 or 5 days, and how I just love the Discord, specifically the ones of the show, that the people who are digging the show, and how we're like thinking about, like, okay, what do we know timeline wise? What happens and what hasn't happened yet, and what they've shied away from, and where that leaves space for this show to dive into. Again, to me, my least favorite element was the casting stuck with the kids. I remember being like, kudos to the actors, kudos to them, because I would love to be in your shoes to be in Star Wars. I remember just being like, man, I can't believe Cassian is stuck with the Breakfast Club, and they're doing rock paper scissors. And like, but then again, how much that leaves, that says a lot about where the rebellion is at. It's like, even these small groups can't get it together, and yet the Empire is building their energy project. And again, I love that the last shot of episode 2 is like Cassian flies out of that planet. We don't know where the hell we're at, and then it just pans to, and we see the Yavin 4 temple, and we're like, ooh, the layers of this.
But you also consider the fact we did learn a lot when you look for the little hinting pieces. Again, this is stuff when you rewatch it again. It's like, Cassian is leadershiping these people under their noses, and they don't even know that he's leading them. You better get some supplies, make sure it's raining, go get some water, you're going to need it.
The perimeter.
Set the perimeter. That weapon is going to be pointed at us in by morning. You may want to do something about that. And it's showing in development of where his leadership is from a year ago, from season 1. And we are getting all these little bits. And again, I say it's boring. I say it was the least interesting story point. And it was only 2 episodes that he was on the planet anyway. But it was the least interesting for me because I already understand what these factions are. It is primarily there for those who never watched Star Wars Rebels and don't understand why there are factions of rebels and this
long-term pivot.
Long-term pivot. Yeah. And so I'm grateful that it's there for helping the aid of anybody who doesn't understand about what the rebellion is all about and why. And I'm sure we're going to get the other faction from Saw Gerrera even more so, because you're going to see the opposite end of that, I am going to assume. And I know because Saw Gerrera is a Rebels-based character as well, and a Clone Wars-based character as well. Sorry, I just gave you spoilers, but you will see a development of this character that he becomes in Rogue One, if you've seen Rogue One. So, and that was also, I think, unintentional when the character was created in animation first. But it became quite an interesting character to watch over the course of the series, and whether it be live action or animation.
Yeah. I think that'll wrap our talk for Andor, unless anybody else wants to say anything about Andor that we missed out on, a specific moment. I think Genevieve O'Reilly is
fantastic. Yeah, we didn't talk enough about her.
Yeah, like
so good. So good.
She was my favorite character of season 1. I love what the material they've been giving Diego with this one. Again, you look at the opening of this season compared to the opening of the first season. It's a contrast of where Cassian has been in his life. But yeah, Genevieve O'Reilly, I think, again, from being cut in Revenge of the Sith, which is out now in theaters. So there's a little plug for
which I got to see yesterday.
I got to see.
Rewatch.
It's remarkable the things they've been doing with Mon Mothma these past few years. That's been my cool new addition to Star Wars. They're a character that again, background in Return of the Jedi that I knew this is the second girl in the rebellion, but the fact that you spend more time with her and you're seeing where she's lining up contrast to Luther's approach, Saw Gerrera's approach, and how she's seen there's got to be a better way about going about this stuff.
Ronan, speaking of all those little moments, did you also catch the name of the guy that Luthen was talking to in the thing? Erskine. Erskine is a character that was created in animation first. He was, in fact, the one that, in Star Wars Rebels, aided Mon Mothma on a journey. Again, I'm not going to go into the details for Sophia's
thank you
perspective here, but he was a character that was just there as a background character. They've just created development. Of course, that would go through Tony Gilroy going up to Pablo Hidalgo, who is like the Lucasfilm Chronicle historian, to say, who can we have that would aid this character? And he basically goes to this and goes, well, we've got this random character here in animation. If you want to develop a character who can eventually be swayed, we hope, by the rebellion or whatever, could be swayed, that might be a character to just throw in there. And again, background character became a secondary character that we haven't, I'm going to assume, may or may not even get developed between now and the next few weeks. I don't know. Again, it's but it's great to the attention to detail to all these.
I literally jumped out of I was I know that name.
I didn't catch it at first. Yeah, I didn't catch it.
I was wait a minute, I know that. And then again, for anybody who knows, Rebels, Secret Cargo is one of my favorite episodes. That is
teared up every time I watch it. Every time I watch it.
And again, it's I remember I was doing the it's always in something Philadelphia thing of take a look at this, and I was wait a minute, if they do this and this and this, this leads up to this perfectly, and
Yeah.
doesn't negate this show nor negates that show.
Yeah.
Did you do it that right? And
yeah, because they've always said, Dave Filoni's the one's always said he doesn't want to ever repeat something that has been done in animation into live action. There's no reason to. If you're a fan enough, you're going to go back and explore these little moments for yourself and understand them and find them for yourself. Hopefully.
I think we should do this again in the next few weeks, talking about Andor, and I think I'll be very interested to see how this comic goes in the next few weeks. And that's all I'll say about that.
Sure, totally.
That's gonna wrap it up for our talk of Andor season 2's first 3 episodes discussion and our recap of Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025.
Yeah, and don't forget, Revenge of the Sith is out there in theaters for 5 days only.
Get your tickets right now as soon as you can and experience that if you haven't. I've known a lot of people who I've never seen a Star Wars movie in the movie theater. I'm like, go now.
Yeah, see it, and if you've seen it before, 20 years ago when I last saw it in the theaters, and you've seen it hundreds of times on video or DVD or streaming, see it again on the big screen, because man, it is so cool to see something like Star Wars with a crowd. Sophia, do I lie on that? Isn't it phenomenal when you've got a crowd sensation around you, looking at that TIE fighter blasting out freaking stormtroopers? And I could only imagine how that was like in a crowd. But I got the same vibe when I saw Skeleton Crew, and well, you were there, Ronan, for Skeleton Crew, right? So, yeah. And
that would have been so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, there's plenty of stuff I'm gonna be dropping pretty soon about Celebration.
Nice.
Unfortunately, Sophia and I didn't get to take a photo, but Sophia, I'm gonna send it to you later. I did take a photo of us looking at a Hot Toys, and you do make an appearance in that photo. And so that'd be a cool thing to add it in the vlogs. But yeah, folks, this as soon as I knew that this show was coming pretty soon, I was like, not only am I excited to watch the show, I'm excited to talk about it on a weekly basis with people and be like, let's just dive deep. What do we think about this scene and this moment and this arc? But yeah, I've had a blast talking about Star Wars Celebration and Andor with you guys. So thank you all for taking the time.
Thank you.
Hang out with me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think stay after the show. We're gonna talk a little bit of stuff once I end it, but I want each of you to plug yourselves and tell where people find you on socials if you want to. And if you have any closing thoughts on Celebration and Andor. So let's start with Sophia.
Sure. Well, you guys can find me at Soph.Stardust on Instagram. I post cosplay, art, mostly Star Wars. I'm doing a couple posts right now about Celebration and Andor. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice. Brent?
And you can find me at Age of Grogu on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where we do reactions to all this stuff and more and all that. And Star Wars is my primary thing. I also, obviously, I'm a big toy collector, so I post unboxings. I build miniature models that I actually sometimes will display stuff in. I haven't posted one of those for a while. I haven't had the time, but yeah, that's where you can find me, Age of Grogu.
Nice. Yeah, folks, I think the goal right now, it's to be determined, but I think the goal now is that every Wednesday following the release of the 3 new episodes is when we can hang out for an hour or two and just talk Andor, and maybe if there's any news coming out of Star Wars, we'll bring that up. But I think that's the goal for me right now for these next 3 weeks of trying to say goodbye to this beautiful piece of art and yet appreciating the hard work that the cast and the crew have given us. So folks, please stay tuned. If you're an anime fan, if you're a Last of Us fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Marvel fan, I got a bunch of homework I got to get done to put out for y'all. Like the video, subscribe to it, share the enthusiasm. We try to engage with Star Wars in a very respectful and passionate manner, and we hope this invites more people to talk with us about it. So until then, may the Force be with you, and this is the way. Take care, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.